What's up, guys? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Um, let's take a look at the markets here. So you can see we are trading in a range, right? Taking this swing high to this swing low. You can see that we're rejecting off the 786 over and over again. We've done that 3 times. So if we can break above that, that's going to be pretty pivotal. Let's fix this. So there. What's this low? 99.7. Okay, so there's a little more accurate representation, but you can see we've been bouncing at support here for quite some time. Um, but every time we get to that 786, we have rejected. So one, two, we've had some pretty strong sell-offs as a result. Um, so yeah, we just have to keep an eye on that. Um, for now, this is a day trading market. We've been able to do pretty well just day trading and focusing on those shorter time frames. Right now, there's not too much edge in trying to swing long or swing short, unless you're doing shorter term swings in relative strength names. And so we'll go over those, but overall, the market, we're just in chop. Something I do want to take a look at. We can go to the bigger picture here. Go to the weekly. So if we take a look at the weekly chart, let's see, I think there's a better representation on SPY. So when looking at SPY, you can see kind of this progression that comes pretty naturally, right? So if we go back in here, um, we can start here. So we go green, green trend bars, then we go to yellow, and then we started a downtrend, which flipped to red trend bars. Then we went to yellow, sign of chop, right? Or trend transition. Then we had green, then we went to red, and then we came back yellow, and then we went back green into a strong trending market. Now we have actually flipped back to yellow. So the last time, so you can see at these points here, if I get my little drawing tool here, you can see at this point when they turned yellow, this was a topping pattern for the market. Here you can see this was a bottoming pattern for the market. The shorter term correction from 2022, I believe, 2023. Yeah, 2023, the shorter term correction of 3 legs down uh, was met with a bottoming pattern that took place with these yellow trend bars here. And then now we're having the same thing here. So it has accurately called a trend change in the past 1, 2, 3 periods of time. If we go back, you can see it did it again as well. And then this one was a little more difficult to pinpoint, but you could see this one was a pretty strong representation of a trend change. This one held yellow, then tried to trend, and then I believe this was, yeah, COVID. So that was kind of a nuance event, right? But you can see here the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times on the weekly chart, it has given us the indication that uh, of a trend change. Okay. So that's something to take note of. Obviously, we don't need to jump on it or do anything right off the bat. But when we're looking at this, we have to be aware that that is what's going on here. But we use the past to help us see what's happening in the future or what could happen in the future. And that's certainly a sign that can't be ignored, especially with the accuracy that it has shown in the um, past periods of time. Okay. And so we did make a new high a couple weeks ago. I got to go back to my other drawing tool. We did make a new high a few weeks ago, tried to do it again. We failed a couple times. Now we're just trading sideways. And so these trend bars can be really useful in giving us a pretty good representation of what's going on. You can see they flipped from green to red and gave us a downtrending. Then we had green, we had a few nice up days, and then now we've moved into chop. So right now, there's no reason to swing long, swing short, but we have to be aware of this signal that has been printing for us and has worked out in the past. So we have to be paying attention to that. So right now, it's a little shorter term, maybe lightening up the load on long-term positions, things like that, because the market seems to be shifting a little bit here. Um, and I think shorter term, the best way to go about playing this is trading that shorter term price action. So, okay, that's that. So now we can go take a look at the relative strength names, or let's dive into the key names that we're paying attention to. So Tesla is seeming to correct. I know a lot of people have tried to bottom pick this one, not necessarily bottom pick, but have tried to buy while it's trading below the 50 SMA. We've had the 20 cross below the 50, so right now there's no reason to be long. We are currently 26% off of the 52-week highs. This is not something you want to trade to the long side. If we wanted to rank these in terms of what is the strongest names here, we've got Meta, Netflix, Amazon, and AVGO. So those are the top dogs right now. Okay. In terms of the mega cap key names, right? So then we're looking through here, and if you can notice, like sell signal paid, sell signals paid, sell signals paid. That's how you know when you're in a downtrending market. Okay. Especially the next point is like, okay, you had a signal here that worked, and then you had more signals that printed. And if you have been using the signals for any length of time or been working with me for a while, you know that when you have a failed signal, that is a not a concrete sign, but a very strong signal that the trend's likely over. Okay. So that's a benefit of these signals, is that when you get the it'll work, it'll work, it'll work, it'll work, and then it will just all of a sudden stop working. And then that's usually the rollover point. And this is a prime example of that. Okay. So then if you want to get into a long or shorter term long position, so here's an example of like where it worked, and then you tried to go long here and it didn't work, or then you got a little downside, made a new low, but then it didn't work, and then that's where you can catch that reversal. And that was a almost 10% move. Okay. So then you can kind of look for that for the next ones, but kind of beside the point, right? Um, Now we're looking at, okay, Meta, strong move to the upside, looks great. Getting a little extended here. You can see that beautiful squeeze fired off to the upside and strong volume. The volume picked up all the way through here. And we had a great move up. And these 30-minute squeezes have been working, working, working. And then now you can see we're starting to get pretty choppy up in here. So we may see a pullback to 700. We can take a look at, and it does still have a weekly buy signal. So be aware of that. Yeah, we've blown through all those extensions. And take a look at the weekly chart. Yep, clean weekly squeeze. So we have your clear higher highs, higher lows. It's just not firing off. So this may have some room to the upside. In continuation, uh, pretty significant beat on earnings, as you can see here. So this one is probably going to continue to be a market leader as long as we have continuation of the upside in the market, right? So if the whole market's pulling back, this isn't going to be too beneficial, but this is one of the market leaders that you want to pay attention to. Okay. Then Netflix, which is in the same sector, the communication sector, this one has also been a strong name and has been performing really well. So we broke $1,000. Maybe we'll come back and retest that. But right now, we've got a 30-minute squeeze. It's pretty strong. performing well, so we want to keep an eye on this one. Um, Amazon, not too much to say here. We had sold off of earnings. Let's see, pretty decent beat on earnings. A little bit of a negative reaction, down 4%, not a big deal. We're still holding above the 50. You can see the past um, one, two, really two, three times we've undercut the 20. We've gotten bought back up. So um, you just want to pay attention to that. We got bought up after breaking the 20 there. It looks like this area in between the 20 and the 50 are usually places where institutions are stepping in and buying. So just something to be aware of. So right now, that's not one of the main ones we want to try and trade right at the moment. But if we can get some lower time frame signals, some reversal signs, we'll want to look to possibly play this long because this actually looks like a pretty good opportunity to do so, based on historical patterns. AVGO, this one's just kind of a mess a little bit. So it had that gap up after printing the 30-minute signals and played out really nicely and had a really great move to the upside. But now it's kind of giving that move back and it's just kind of trading nowhere. But you can see we are making higher highs and higher lows here. So keep an eye out for that as maybe the next buy signals can print the next move up. Google had a sell signal and sold off on Friday. Or is that Friday or Thursday? Friday. So we had this sell off. I wouldn't be trading this one. I think that there's no point because Meta is in the same sector and is clearly outperforming. So I would be focused on that one. TSM, we traded this one, caught the gap up. I did not take any profit, so I did end up cutting this for a loss of minus 3% on the leverage shares TSMX. You can see the momentum is starting to roll over on the downside here. We had this 30-minute squeeze fire to the downside. So there's no real reason to get long on this one. And you can see this is a pretty choppy environment that we're in. So we clear this off and you can kind of see that this is a pretty major swing high to swing low. So let's take a look. Yeah, so we gapped up above the 618, failed it, came down to the 50%. We may now head down to that 202 area, but nothing I want to do with this one right now. Qs we talked about, SPY talked about, ESNQ we talked about. Microsoft, it's at the bottom of its range that it's been trading in for the past year, actually. So that's pretty crazy. Did not realize it's been that long. So it has been trading in a range since um um, yeah, just about almost exactly a year or a little over a year. So let's look at the weekly chart. So, okay, let's do a little analysis like we did with the Qs and SPY. So if we go look at the weekly chart, because this is a key stock. So yellow trend bars represented a trend change. These have pretty much been green bars the entire life of the stock, other than it's either been trending up or trending down. You can see pretty much all during this time. This represented a shift to the upside. This represented a shift to the upside. So the accuracy or the relevance of it is not too much, but this is the longest period we've seen of these yellow bars. So besides back in here, which was 2016. So really there's nothing, or then that period there. But so really, I don't there's no reason to trade this until it breaks out of its range. So right now, it's bumping into this area here and kind of trading in this range. There's nothing you want to do with Microsoft right now. And honestly, based on this pattern and how it's trading, I'm kind of leaning bearish a little bit on it. You can see with the above average volume candles, the bears have 7, the bulls have 6. Bitcoin, uh, we're in some chop, probably building out the next weekly squeeze. So I doubt this is going to do anything for a while. You can see this big cup and handle that pattern that played out. So I do think it's possible that we continue upside, but I don't think we're going to see a significant move here anytime soon. Apple. So this is kind of a cautionary tale for sure. So if you look at this, we had this weekly squeeze and it set up really nicely. We broke out to the upside and then we failed it. So we failed that breakout. Now we're back in a weekly squeeze. So that's a little bit of a cautionary tale. Moving averages are starting to flip negative. We're below the 50. We might go back and test this 200. So this doesn't look good either, along with Microsoft. Tesla, we talked about. Um, NVIDIA, it's below its 50. Moving averages have stacked negative. All questionable things. Okay. So they're all questionable things. You can see this nice move we had back in here. Nice weekly squeeze we had there. But now it's kind of like, all right, we'll have to see what this next earnings report does because right now it's looking like we might sell off after this earnings report. This is actually the first time we visited the 200. Um, in more than, well, since the last time we tested that we were near testing the 200 was in 2020. Is that right? 2023? Yeah. So it's almost been 2 years since we've tested this 200. And so I think if we break below this, that could be a major selling point. So with the conclusion of looking at all of this, you got to be aware of the fact that, okay, these are the top 3 stocks in the market, right? So Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA. And they're all looking like distribution. Um, so that's not a good sign. Okay. That's not a good sign for the overall market, the overall health of the market. These are the leaders. And then so that kind of supports our idea of SPY. That kind of supports our idea of SPY. So you take a look at this with the trend change that I've been telling you about. We could see a reversion back to the 20. So that's very possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. Okay. So right now, longer term picture, I think we are leaning slightly bearish, just in my opinion, in terms of potential to have a stronger pullback, just based on the leaders and based on this weekly analysis of the overall market. So yeah. Okay. Now let's take a look at some market leaders. So any setups going into this week. So you can see the top names here are BB, BBAI, Alibaba, which has earnings coming up, CLS, Docs, which this one could be a pretty solid earnings continuation trade. So keep an eye out for this one. I think that there's pretty strong potential in this. So keep an eye on it. Look for the next 30-minute squeeze. You could enter if it retests this high of the opening range, but that one looks pretty solid. Eat looks good. I had a nice, let's see, did the earnings beat? Yeah, 50% earnings beat. That's really solid. FNMA, that one looks good as well. We can just run through the ones that actually, we don't need to go through all of them. We can look at the ones that have setups. So, okay. Futu, Very interesting. We can go to the weekly chart on that one. You can see it's breaking this weekly flag. I brought this one to you guys a few months ago or a few weeks ago. I think it was actually two of these sessions before. Okay, now check this out. Weekly signals printing, nice move upside. Weekly signal printing here, and then you can see here the weekly signals that we're printing back in here. So high volume, above average volume here. We're getting a buy signal after the flag breakout, and it looks like we're moving into stage 2 potentially. So all of this chop is happening back from 2021. Yeah, this is a pretty solid chance to it. I'd be surprised if this thing didn't make it back to 130 pretty quickly. So I would have this one pretty high up on your watch list. TAL. So this one had a earnings gap up and then has been moving and grooving ever since. Let's see here. We go to the weekly time frame. So this one definitely doesn't look as good, but this is a Chinese name. So you got to recognize what's going on. Chinese stocks are looking really good as of recently. Okay, what's another one with the setup? XPEV. This one is another Chinese name. This one looks like it's still in a basing pattern. You can see it hasn't broke this consolidation yet, but you have to recognize what's going on, like what is showing up in the relative strength names. Chinese stocks. So where should our focus probably be this week? Chinese stocks. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on these. And so that one has a setup as well. Yin, this is the Chinese ETF. Yeah, so weekly buys on XPEV, TAL, Futu, um, all Chinese stocks. Okay. So I would like to get a little better of an entry on this one, but this looks like it's headed back to $20. So the $20 calls, maybe probably uh February, it's February, March, April, June-ish would probably be really solid here. Um, okay, so we've got a 30-minute on FS. Not completely sure what this stock is, so I'd have to do more research on it, but it looks like earnings gap up 258. Yeah, strong beat, about 30% beat on expectations. So yeah, this one looks like a pretty solid one. It just needs to get above that earnings, post earnings high. So break above that. That one looks really solid. TM, this is Nancy Pelosi stock. You can see all the volume that's been pouring into this thing. You can see with all these volume dots, and that daily squeeze fired off long, and we're continuing to see upside. So this one actually had a really, really solid looking 30-minute setup. So we will be looking to trade this one come Monday. This one, yeah, very bullish looking chart. I love the weekly squeeze here, or the 30-minute squeeze here. And I think that this could easily get us to 75. We can run some longer term fibs on this from that swing high to that swing low. And yeah, you can see we're at that 786. We get above there, we should see a pretty bullish breakout to the upside. So go ahead. Okay, before I go and do all that, just want to make sure before I go set levels. 49. Okay, the low 31, 36. We just want to make sure what we're doing is accurate here. Okay. So yeah, we've been rejecting at that 786 for a minute. That looks awesome for upside. Okay. Okay. So then team earnings gap up. Not too much momentum going on right there. TKO. This one had a really solid breakout after that consolidation and earnings move up. Let's go weekly. Yeah, that weekly has a really, really solid trend. So we can be keeping an eye on. the next 30-minute signals that print, because usually they're giving pretty good opportunity for upside moves. So that one looks good as well. TPR had earnings that came out recently. It looks like it's selling off a little bit, but it did have a 13% gap up, so keep an eye on that. IBKR, this one looks solid. Um, nice 30-minute signals going into the weekend. The earnings, it looks like, was a pretty 1.85, 2 point decent beat, nothing crazy, but you can see 30-minute signal nice, 30-minute signal nice, 30-minute signal nice, and we've got more here. So I really like this setup here. Definitely want to put that on your watch list. Gold has been performing pretty well. So this KGC, I think is going to be something that we can continue to watch out for. Look at this 30-minute flag pattern here, and notice the pattern. It's a lot of it. This is noticing the continuation of patterns, right? So notice this here. We've got this consolidation pattern, and we're building higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and then flat top breakout. Okay. Smaller example of this pattern. Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, breakout. Okay. Again, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, break out. You play this thing until it stops working. So gold has been performing well. So this is something that will benefit as a result of that. RPRX. Wow. Okay, so this one has earnings coming up, so we're gonna have to stay away from that for the moment. But that's a good looking chart. Um, so what was this gap up? 5% gap up, pretty good. Yeah, so that one looks pretty good for continued upside. And then we go continue through here. BSX, this one looking pretty strong. Had a nice move up off the 30 minutes or off of earnings and has traded sideways in this really tight range. So once it breaks that, you can look for either a move to the upside or downside. But if it breaks to the downside, I wouldn't be trading it, honestly. Okay, beat, nothing crazy. Eli Lilly having a nice move after its earnings. Nice 30-minute setup here with showing some resistance at 890. I think we get a pop up into 900. But yeah, really solid looking chart. 30-minute squeeze looks great. BTI, this one just has been a beast. So it's been just continuing to gap up over and over again. It is a pretty gappy stock in general. So um, size how you wish or manage your risk. But 30-minute signals, and we're just continuing to trend up. So that one looks pretty solid for upside as well. Cart has a nice daily squeeze, potential to break out, I think, before earnings, break above 50. So keep an eye on that. That's one on the lower list of that I like. IBM, weekly chart, buy signal, great trend. Um, yeah, I would say that's all I got for you. So kind of key takeaways. We've got the overall thesis for the overall market. So we're going to want to focus on relative strength names. It looks like Chinese stocks are coming into play. So we're going to want to put our focus there. And then just focus on these names that are having setups after earnings, gapping up after earnings, and or just these top performing stocks, relative strength names. So I hope this helps. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.